Hello, how do you do? With you, Alaisam. Today I will take you to the journey to the past. Are you ready? Yes? Okay, please raise your back and fasten the seatbelt. We will take off soon. But before we take off, if I asked anyone, what do you think about Japan? Probably most of your common answer, it will be the world of technology. But how? How a country have been destroyed by two nuclear bombs like well, yes, the nuclear bomb erased everything. The nuclear bomb destroyed Japan. How they rise up again, how they come back to the top of technology, it is really a miracle. Our presentation will talk about this miracle. But it is a very nice, good experience, life experience that we must learn how to rebuild the country and for us to never give up and rise up again. And now, but before we talk you after Hiroshima, Muhammad Yasser will talk about Japan through and before the war. Then Shams will talk about Japan from World War II to atomic bombing. Fourth, Abdullah will talk about the life miracle, how they rebuilt the country from zero to the top of the technology. Last but not the least, Ahmad will talk about the conclusion. Remember, if the thing doesn't break you, make you stronger. Please never give up. Thank you for your attention. Now Muhammad Yasser will talk about Japan before and through the war. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Ali, for introducing me. Hello, everybody. My name is Muhammad Yasser. I hope you're all doing well. I'm here today to tell you about the Japanese wars before the World War II. And please believe me when I tell you that the part I'm going to talk about today is going to reveal to you the Japanese ugly face. Before we start, we all know that Japanese Empire had a great dream to make a great empire who can rule the whole world. And in order to do that, they had to invade the whole world. That was their goal. And in order to achieve that, the Japanese army before the World War II used to create fake stories in order to enter the neighboring countries. And after they enter these countries, they start the brutal invasion process. It's not only the invasion process, it's a brutal invasion process. They used fire weapons, chemical weapons, and biological weapons. And after they make sure that the country they're in is under their complete control, they start celebration in a way that you have never heard before. They celebrate by torturing men and raping women until death. And after they end their celebration, they take the remaining alive men in order to work for them, and they take the remaining alive women for sexual purposes for the soldiers who are completing the conquering journey, as they believe that the conquering journey will never end until they conquer the whole world. As the World War II started, the whole world was busy fighting each other, and Japan found it a great chance in order to invade the whole Asia. As the World War II started, Japan had invaded about 20% of Asia, and it's a great number. Believe me, it's a great number. Asia is a great continent, and that made the great powers of the world turn to Japan, as they thought it can be a great power that no one can deter, and one day Japan would enter these countries. And that made Japan one of the parties of the World War II, as the whole world started to fight them. Now, this part of the presentation, my friend Yusuf Ibrahim will be covering with you. Now, any questions you have? Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Asir, for introducing me. Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to discuss the breakout of World War II. World War II started in Europe on September 1, 1939, when Germany invaded Poland. However, the Japanese Empire only joined on December 7, 1941, when they attacked Pearl Harbor and took the US by surprise. But first, let's take a step backwards and observe what happened before that. In 1940, the Japanese signed the Tripartite Pact with Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy, where they agreed on assisting one another if any of them was attacked by another country that wasn't already involved in the war. After that, Japan took its troops and went to occupy French Indochina. As a result, the US responded with economic sanctions such as oil and steel embargoes on Japan, which made Japan's economy even worse as they were already suffering from the demands of the Chinese war. So negotiations were already initiated by the Prime Minister of Japan and soon were completely rejected by the US, which left them with no other option than war. So, on December 7, 1941, Japan surprised the US and attacked Pearl Harbor. The primary objective of that attack was to incapacitate the US long enough for Japan to establish its Southeast Asian empire. 4 days later, Hitler of Germany, and Mussolini of Italy declared war on the US. 1 year later, Japan was already advanced and have already advanced so much and had so many countries such as Hong Kong. By January 1942, Singapore had already fell in the hands of the Japanese, which marked one of the largest surrenders of British-led military personnel in history. After that, they focused on putting their hands on the key oil production zones in the world, such as Netherlands. However, in April 1942, Japan was first bombed in the Doolittle operation, and they suffered from a catastrophic. After that, a catastrophic failure, catastrophic loss, as they lost 4 fleet carriers in the Midway Battle in June in the same year. By 1944, the US has managed to liberate the Philippines and seize and neutralize most of Japan's strategic bases, which put Japan's economy in an even worse situation. So now Japan was in the defensive side of the war. After that, the US started an intense bombing campaign on Japan, which started with the meeting house operation that happened on Tokyo and killed around 100,000 civilians. They also killed around 350,000 to 500,000 other Japanese civilians in 66 other cities. After these efforts, the Japanese were still on their feet and they didn't surrender. However, in mid-August 1945, the US decided to use nuclear weapons against Japan and drop them on both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They killed around 120,000 to 140,000 Japanese civilians in around a minute, and as much as a result of the radiation that kept on going for weeks, years, and decades after that. In the following part, Mu'min, my colleague, is going to cover with you how Japan could stand on their feet.
Thank you, Yusuf. Hello everyone. My name is Moon Abdullah and I hope you have a nice day. Today we will talk about how to rebuild Japan. Japan in 1950 was absolutely devastated. They had the highest percentage of siege women lost to England, and the economy was destroyed. So they called for a sales meeting. They didn't call it a sales meeting, but it actually what it was. They called the government leaders, leaders of industry, leaders of education, leaders of society. They got them all together and they put a plan. What can we do to to achieve an objective that will restore national pride and bring economic prosperity to their land? They decide that their goal to be number one in production of textiles, and they reach their goal. In 1960, they make another sales meeting and they decide on the impossible dream. They decide to become number one in the production of steel. And why this impossible dream? Very simple. Japan has no natural resource. They don't have coal, petroleum, iron. They are going to import the raw materials from thousands of miles away into their land, build those modern steel mills, manufacture top grade steel, ship it thousands of miles back, and sell it at a competitive price. Absolutely an impossible dream, but they didn't look at what they didn't have, they looked at what they have, a willingness to work, and they reached their goal at last. In 1970, they had another meeting. They decided to be number one in the production of automobiles. They once again made it and become number one in the production of automobiles. So, in 1980, they get another goal. They decide to be number one in the production of computers and electronics. And another time they reach their goal and become number one in the production of electronics and computers. Now, Ahmed Safti will conclude our presentation. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.
Hey everyone, it's good to see you again. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ahmed Safti, and I want to ask you a question. Have you ever lived in a country that suffered from a war? I know that nowadays we are living in bad situations which made us feel it is a war. But I mean wars such as the World War II. The World War II was a monster that killed everything good. As you know from my friends that Japan is one of the worst countries that suffered from the World War II. About 2 million military soldiers as well as 1 million civilians were killed without any mercy. Moreover, the United States detonated 2 nuclear weapons over the Japanese cities Hiroshima and Nagasaki respectively. The 2 bombings killed between 129,000 and 226,000 people, most of whom were civilians. But was that the end of Japan? Of course not. The Japanese economical miracle, also known as Japan's record period of economical growth, which is between the post-World War II to the end of the Cold War, Japan rapidly became the world's second largest economy after the USA. One of the companies that helped the Japanese economy was Toyota. The Toyota cars were invading all the markets all over the world that time, as well as nowadays, due to its reliability. Japan made people such as Egyptians to call them Planet Japan for their hard work as well as their passion towards it. To be honest, one of my dreams is to complete my graduate studies in a country such as Japan. I'm really amazed of what the Japanese people have done. Finally, Japanese people made a great job in regaining their influence, not by power or by wars, but by wisdom and hard work. I would like to thank you so much for listening to our presentation. I hope you're well.